Hi there, I'm Tim Autrey, and welcome to Principle-Based Performance Improvement, where we combine timeless wisdom with modern science and practical tools to help you move yourself and your organization toward better, safer, and more productive outcomes. In the next 10 minutes or so, I want to clear up some common misconceptions about three terms that are bantered about continuously in organizations and in society at large. The three terms: accountability, culpability, and responsibility. For the last 2 decades, I've heard leaders, especially those at senior levels, voice a strong desire for team members to demonstrate higher levels of ownership and accountability. Sound familiar? Most of us are pretty clear on what ownership means, so I'm going to set that one aside for now. So let's talk about accountability. Well, it's talked about a lot, highly desired and essential for any organization to be healthy. There's a ton of misunderstanding about what it actually is and how it plays into the scheme of human and organizational performance. Let's say, for example, something goes wrong. Somebody gets hurt, equipment gets damaged, a system or plant stripped offline, regulations get violated, whatever it might happen to be. When this occurs, a huge hell for me, in other words, a signal that lies underneath that is revealing, is when leaders or anyone really reacts by saying, "Who are we going to hold accountable?" First, this should never be the first question asked. Second, it's a grand display of ignorance about what the heck accountability actually is. Let's take a look at the definition of accountability in Webster's Unabridged Dictionary. Here it is: the quality or state of being accountable, liable, or responsible, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. Now, if we simply break down the word accountable into its component parts, we have account and we have able. So now here's the question. Let's say we're talking about me. Who is the only person on planet Earth that has the ability to account for my choices, my actions, and my behaviors? That would be me. Nobody else can do it. This is why that classic question of who are we going to hold accountable reveals a massive misunderstanding of what the word even means. At PPI, we like to keep things simple and straightforward as much as we possibly can. So we've created an updated glossary of terms that apply directly to human and organizational performance. Here is the PPI definition of accountability. It's ownership of one's choices, actions, and behaviors, and the outcomes and consequences they generate. Pretty simple, right? Notice it's all internal. Okay, now let's see how accountability fits with those other two terms, culpability and responsibility, which are often mixed up and misused and misunderstood. First, here's Webster's definition of the word culpable, which is the root of the word culpability: meriting condemnation or censure, especially as criminal. Now, in organizations, most of the time, thank goodness, the criminal aspect doesn't really come into play. However, pay attention to the rest of the definition, especially the word meriting. I've come to love the word merit because it's upon this and only this that most decisions should be made, both the positive ones, such as who gets hired, who gets promoted, and so forth, as well as the negatives, such as when what someone does or not do, or the way they do it or don't do it, warrants negative consequences. Unfortunately, this is where, in organizations and in society at large, we tend to screw things up. When things go wrong for the person involved, which is what James Reason used to refer to as the person on the sharp end of the stick, any consequences or lack thereof oftentimes rests heavily on whether we like the person or not. It's important to anchor this in, so let's do a quick example. Let's say you have two team members. We'll call them team members Alpha and team member Bravo. They're both solid employees with similar skill sets, good work ethics, and solid reputations. Team member A, or Alpha, is well liked by leadership and her coworkers alike, and everybody loves her. Whereas team member Bravo is a bit quirky and somewhat of a social outcast. Now, no one can remember either of these team members ever making a consequential mistake before. However, on a given day, the stars align and it happens. A mistake is made that is not only self-revealing, which means that it's obvious, visible, but the outcomes are significant enough to warrant some type of consequence. Do you think there's any chance that the consequences for team member A might be different than those for team member B? If you say no, you're either kidding yourself or you've had the grand fortune of existing in a hypothetically ideal environment. In my example, I use the word consequences. In this context, it means the same thing as punishment. When consequences or punishment are meted out subjectively, in other words, based upon whether we like the person or not, this flies in the face of natural principle number 7, which is justice. Now, as others observe an injustice or perceive a lack of justice, the aftermath for a team, an organization, or an entire society, whether it's immediate and visible or whether it grew subversively under the covers, can be catastrophic. By the way, you can find the principle-based performance glossary of terms, as well as a tool, a decision tree, and a user guide to help you objectively determine culpability, completely free and available for immediate download under the Resources tab on our website, ppiweb.com. That's ppiweb.com. I've also provided direct links for each in the comments section under this video. We've now identified that it's impossible to hold another person accountable for anything. We've also identified what it means to be culpable and the need to be objective, if and when determining levels of culpability is warranted. Remember, the operative word for objective determination is merit. So what about the third term, responsibility? Unfortunately, Webster's keeps the waters muddy on this one. Perhaps this is why there continues to be so much confusion. Piecing together definitions from multiple sources, we've crafted the PPI definition, which is this. Responsibility is the levy of external consequence based on the perceived role as the cause, motive, or agent for whatever it happens to be. We can now relate these three terms in a usable context that makes sense. Here we go. Accountability is internal ownership. Culpability is the level to which consequence or punishment is merited, and responsibility is the levying and administration of those consequences. Why are we even taking time to talk about this? Because, as you've heard me say before, words matter. We want to eliminate confusion. Words matter a lot in helping do that. And to re-emphasize, culpability must be determined objectively, irrespective of whether you like the person or not. And we have a great, free, downloadable tool to help you do just that. Most people come to work wanting to do a good job, and when they screw up, most tend to beat themselves up. In other words, they internally punish themselves far more than any external consequences possibly could. If you've ever made a mistake on the job, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Therefore, dispensing any form of punishment for mistakes made on the job should always be the rare exception. Now, when it does appear warranted, however, this is when responsibility comes into play. Again, properly proportioned based on objectively determined levels of culpability. I trust you now have a better understanding of accountability, culpability, and responsibility. To cap this off, I want to give you a specific takeaway, a set of 3 simple questions to have at the ready so that you can keep your emotions at bay and approach things like a rock star the next time something goes wrong. Ready? Ask these questions in this order. Is everyone okay? What happened? And what have we learned so far? Why is it so important? First and foremost, it gives your emotions time to settle and to cool down. I don't know about you, but when someone screws something up, when they commit what in tennis you'd call an unforced error, my initial inclination is not to be calm and collected. Having these 3 questions at the ready and conditioning yourself to deploy them when something goes wrong keeps you from, as we like to call it in PPI, blasting through the gap and saying or doing something stupid that can easily destroy your reputation and, for most of us, generate substantial regrets. The first question, is everybody okay, demonstrates that you care. And when you're in any position of authority, it's important to remember that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. The second question is asking for simple facts, not conjecture or emotional finger pointing. And the third question opens the door for non-emotional information gathering that can lead to responsible, coherent assessment well, you have time to develop proper context and perspective for your next best steps. Got it? Great. If you're finding these insights helpful, please share them with your friends and colleagues. Help your search engine find more content like this by hitting the like button before you leave. And if these PPI messages resonate with you, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next one. And remember, you can go to the resources tab at our website, ppiweb.com. Once again, that's ppiweb.com for free and immediate download of the PPI glossary and the culpability decision tree and user guide. Or access them using the links provided in the comment section below this video. Until next time, my friend, be safe, stay humble, and make a difference.